Well, good morning. I'm Petra Weldes, spiritual director here, and my son, he says to me, "Oh, you're just a bunch of hippies." See, reggae in the morning, fabulous tie-dye by Jen and Jeremy. Yeah, guilty as charged. It's all good. It's all good. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Petra Weldes, spiritual director here. We are finishing up our conversation about the 4 kingdoms of consciousness. Today we're moving into Kingdom 4. And what I noticed in really preparing for this and moving through these kingdoms as we come to Kingdom 4, we're gonna talk about something that it's really something that we experience. And so it's an interesting thing always when I find myself wanting to share on a Sunday morning about a topic that really what's much more appropriate is for us to experience it. And yet we are going to spend some time talking about it because Kingdom 4 we find beautifully represented in all of the faith traditions, and we can really see how there is a unity in all of the spiritual traditions across the planet, and that we're all developing and seeking this experience of the divine. So I just invite you to open your hearts and minds to whatever is here for you today as we sort of dance with this idea that we're going to be talking about something, but mostly we want to move into the experience of Kingdom 4 consciousness, which means I am the presence, God as me, not just through me, not just in me, but as me. So that's where we're going today. I want to take this opportunity to welcome any of you who are here for the first time. I'm Petra Weldes, Senior Minister of the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas, and we're delighted that you found us here on the web. You can find our Sunday services on our website by every Wednesday, and we love that you can look at us online and explore these spiritual teachings. Feel free to explore our archives. It goes back a number of years, with lots of special topics and amazing speakers. You can also sign up for our email news, My Daily Words, and my blog, Spiritual Living with Dr. Petra. If you're looking for a spiritual community, come visit us. Or if you're just in Dallas, drop on by. We'd love to give you a hug. Welcome.
When Andrew invited me to sing today, we started looking for songs which aligned with each of us being of God. And along the way, Andrew sent me a link to an amazing song, and I listened to it and I wrote back, I said, "Andrew, is this your song?" And he said, "Yeah, I just composed it on my iPad right now." And I was so touched by the opportunity to sing today, and also the opportunity to sing Andrew's song. And he is truly the embodiment of God, as we all are, being of God and sharing his gifts so fully and so freely and with such vulnerability and grace and courage and joy and playfulness. And so this is the world premiere of this song called Without End by Andrew Tinker. A distant star may fall, and still the sun shines along the state lines, though a distant star may fall. And should an empire crumble, you and I would still be unbroken, are we? Should an empire crumble, I am without an end. Where you begin, you breathe, and I am. throughout the day and night. A single flame burns not for all time, yet always can be kindled just the same, though a single flame burns not. I am without an end. Where you begin, you breathe, and I am. As I breathe you in, I am within, you are again out and in. Love without end. Love without end. We are transcendent, immanent, love without end. We are the distance, the center and circumference, gazing at the skies. I am your eyes, I am you inside. I am without an end. Where you begin, you breathe, and I am. Love without end. Love without end. Love without end. Love without. We are transcendent, immanent, love without end. Love without.
And so I'm going to invite you to take that in. Love without end. To just join with me for a moment. And breathe that in. You are transcendent, immanent. The circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. And when we breathe in the light, the love, the presence, the power. And when we breathe out, we find ourselves there in the center. Just be there for a moment with me. You are love without end. You are light, birthed into the world. You are joy, expressing as a fountain of your laughter. You are hope and beauty. You are the very power and presence of the One, right here, right now. Just allowing yourself to breathe into that deep and still center. This is the truth of your being. Feeling all of the trappings of life fall away. There's nothing to do here. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. There's nothing broken. There is simply the radiant light of the absolute love, the divine presence and power pouring itself as you into life. There's not one thing that you need to do to make this true, but to remember, to wake up out of the illusion and the false ideas of the outer human world, to draw your identity from the one, which is the very source, the very ground, the very essence of your being. You draw it up into the reality of who you are as if you were a tree rooted in the earth, into all of the power and love and presence that is flung across the heavens as the stars is flung into your life as you. As your love, your presence, your light. Because you are the place where this one is making itself known in the world, incarnating, manifesting itself as you. Precious, perfect, divine and human, all at the same time. Without end. So just breathe it in with me. And let it be. And so it is. Thank you, Shannon and Andrew, Jonathan, and Lupe. Thank you so much. How lovely to remember this truth. Oopsie. I don't seem to have slides. Do we know what's happening with our slides? Oh, all right. Well, there you go. If we can get it back on, that'd be great. If we can't, that's okay too. So I want to start with, this is from the Bhagavad Gita. The man who sees me in everything, and everything within me, will not be lost to me, nor will I ever be lost to him. He who is rooted in oneness realizes that I am in every being. Wherever he goes, he remains in me. When he sees all being as equal in suffering or in joy, because they are like himself, that man has grown perfect in yoga. That's from the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most ancient sacred scriptures on our planet today. When we are recognizing the truth of our being, the reality of who we are, this is the consciousness of oneness. This is the place we're moving to, the place we've been growing and developing into as we have been moving through the four kingdoms of consciousness. We have been moving in the direction of this consciousness of oneness, this remembrance of unity. Ernest Holmes says, there is nothing to heal, so only truth to be revealed. And what is that truth? That truth that our sense of separation is just that, a sense of separation. But it's not the truth of who we are. So in Kingdom 4, we've been moving through the kingdoms of consciousness. In Kingdom 4, we move into that place where we recognize that I am the presence showing up in the world. There is a power for good in the universe, and it is me. So if you'll recall, Kingdom 1 is that place where we talked about victim consciousness. Oh, thank you so much. We talked about victim consciousness. We might also say that Kingdom 1 is where I'm simply unconscious. I'm not aware. I'm not aware that I'm aware. I don't really understand what's going on. I'm just sort of rolling with the punches, kind of trying to make my way through life. And the portal from Kingdom 1 to Kingdom 2 is the portal of responsibility, where we move into Kingdom 2 and said, no, this is my life. I choose. I can make it happen. I can move out in my world and design it and live the life of my dreams. And it's an empowered place where we discover that, yes, actually we can. Our attitude makes a difference. And we can move powerfully in the world. And then we talked about the slide into Kingdom 3, the release of the egoic human self into the recognition that there is something larger, something more going on, and we become the channel or the vessel for this life to move through us. And we realize there's a power for good in the universe, and it uses us. In Kingdom 2, we understand there's a power for good in the universe, and we can use it, and we do use it. And now we allow it to use us. And that move is from the self with a small s to the self with a capital S, to the divine identity moving through us. And we also talked about how easily it is for women in general to want to move from Kingdom 1 to Kingdom 3 because they don't like we're not enculturated to the power of Kingdom 2. And we hinted at that for men, it's the move they would prefer to go from Kingdom 2 without having to slide into Kingdom 3. And that slide is the release of the egoic relationship with life. And just as women are taught not to be powerful, men are taught never to surrender, never to give up, to do it, to make it happen, to go for it. And it's very easy in our culture to move from there and to think that, well, now God's doing it as me, and I'm going to do it as me. And we don't realize that we're still moving from that egoic place. We just have masked it with spiritual language. Just like women who move from Kingdom 1 to 3 mask their letting God do it to them. It gets masked in spiritual language. So in that move from Kingdom 2 to Kingdom 3, there is a release of the egoic needs. There's a release of there's a release of this idea that the things outside of us are what fill us up and make us happy. Our prestige, our money, our home, our outward accomplishments. And we actually release those. Not that we don't have them anymore, but we recognize that they aren't the source of our happiness. In Kingdom 3, do you see, we realize it's moving through us out into the world, and all of that good that we experience becomes an expression of this love and light that's moving through us. Now, the move from Kingdom 3 to Kingdom 4 is the portal. Oh, it's gone again. Thank you. Well, we'll see if it comes back on. Is the move from Kingdom 3 to Kingdom 4 is the portal of self-realization. Self-realization, where we realize the truth of who we are. We realize the truth of our identity. And from the Hebrew tradition, we get this passage from the great mystics that all got lumped together as if they were all Moses. And Moses is said to have had the experience with the burning bush, with the divine presence. Why do you think I should go? I stutter, I stammer, I don't know how to do this. And who's going to believe me? Who shall I say sent me? And the presence says back, tell him the I that I am sent you. The I that I am. The divine identity. Do you see, Moses, as this powerful figure, was invited to not be lost in his human identity of this or that, or not enough of this or not enough of that, but to stand in the spiritual identity of who he was. The I that I am. We're all invited into that place where we ultimately recognize that we move our identification from the human to the divine. And do you see, this is exactly what happens when we understand what happened to the Christ consciousness when Jesus became the Christ. The human gave way to this recognition of the divine. When he would say, "It is the Father within me that doeth the work." When you see me, you see the Father. And he said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." He was pointing to the identity of the truth of who we are. That center, that place that we touched so beautifully in that song and in the meditation, that center point within us where we are actually bigger on the inside than we are on the outside. That place where we touch infinity within us. That description of the divine, God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. Whose center is everywhere. So right at the center of our being, right at the center of all being, right there is the center of the one, the center of the divine. And there's no circumference, there's no place where that stops. It's infinite in all directions. And do you see, our spiritual practices for Kingdom 4 are meditation and spiritual mind treatment. Meditation is that place where we move back into that divine identity, that identity that is the I that I am. Ernest Holmes says this: "I am has a dual meaning. It is both individual and universal. God was revealed to Moses as the great I am, the universal cause, the first principle of life. Jesus said that he came not to destroy the law of Moses, but to fulfill it. How could he fulfill it? Except by teaching the universal I am and the individual I. In all the sayings of Jesus, we find this thought brought out, that God is universal spirit and we are made in God's image and likeness, an individualization of God's eternality. Therefore, when we understand our own I, we shall walk in the light which lights the world unto the perfect I am." Do you see? Kingdom 4 is that place where we live and believe and know this truth, that I am that I am. And the Christ consciousness is birthed within us, or it's nonsense. It's not birthed at all. We're awakened to it. It's always been there. It's the very heart and soul of the essential reality of who we are, or we wouldn't be here. It is life itself as us. It is the very thing, do you see, that is our aliveness. It is our incarnation. This is the truth of who we are. And as we grow in consciousness, we begin to touch this. We begin to have glimmers of it and moments of it, and we think, is it really possible? Could that really be true? And then we have moments where we realize, yes, I just showed up as love. Wow, I just showed up as peace. I just spoke my word for this to go well, and look how well it went. Do you see? We begin to experience ourselves as the creative force, the creative intention moving in our life, not from an egoic place of acquiring and needing, but from a place of expressing the truth and bringing it into life in an intentional and powerful manner. The I that I am becomes the Christ consciousness that we are. I have a lovely slide that comes up next that you can't see. Because thank you, you know what, you guys can not worry about it. And if you get it on, fine, but otherwise don't worry about it. You'll see that this is over and over. We've already seen it in the Hebrew tradition. We've seen it in the Christian tradition. We've seen it in the Hindu tradition. In the Buddhist tradition, we see it in the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path, it says, having right relationship to ourselves and to life. The Eightfold Path is right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. You don't have to memorize all of those things. It means that we are in right relationship with the identification that we are the presence and all the qualities of God showing up. And when we are in right relationship to that, do you see? We operate from that place. And our speech is from our spiritual understanding. Our action is from our spiritual truth. Our livelihood comes from the expression of the divine, of who we are. Do you see? We don't actually have to memorize those things. What we have to do is stand in the identity that we are not limited, small, shame-based, or broken human beings, but that this outer cloak that we wear, this human identity that we wear, is our vehicle for expressing in this world. But we step back into the true identity of who we are, the universal, made, manifest, incarnated in the individual. And so in Buddhism, we have the Eightfold Path as an expression of this. Ernest Holmes writes this: life at the center of your being is a silent power. It comes to you as feeling, as conviction, as an inward awareness. Whenever you speak from this inward awareness, consciously recognizing that all the power that there is flowing through your words, then you endow your words with great power. Whenever you speak from this inward awareness, consciously recognizing that all the power that there is flowing through your words, then you endow your words with great power. And so out of the I that I am and this Christ consciousness that we have developed, we speak the word of authority. This is our affirmative prayer, our spiritual mind treatment. When we speak the word of authority, do you see we speak from the recognition that love is all there is, from the realization that abundance is the truth of the universe, from the understanding that wholeness is the divine pattern for life itself. We don't ask for it. We don't try to create it. We don't try to imagine it in our minds. We don't have to make it up in any way, shape, or form, because we are standing in that place where we know this is the reality. And our prayer is to remember this reality and to bring it forward into consciousness so profoundly that the universe can only say yes to our deep understanding. When Jesus said, "The Father and I are one," when you see me, you see the Father, he spoke the word of authority. When he walked up to the tomb in the story of Lazarus, and before he said, "Lazarus, come forth," what did he say? "My Father that is in heaven, I know that you hear me always. Thank you for always hearing me," because he knew that the Father and he are one. And so he spoke that word of authority, "Come forth." And when the centurion came to him and said, "My servant is so ill, please, will you heal my servant?" And Jesus said to him, I got these multitudes to handle right here. I'll be with you in a minute. And the centurion said, No, you don't understand. I am a person of authority in the army. I know that when I say to my men, "Go hither and yon," they do what I say because I am a person of authority. He said, "And I know that you have spiritual authority. If you will just speak your word, my servant will be healed." You don't have to be there. You don't have to lay your hands upon him. You don't have to visualize it or imagine it or speak your word, because I know the truth of who you are. And Jesus' response was, "Nowhere have I seen greater faith than this." Someone who could see the I am, the Christ consciousness, and recognize the power that comes when we speak from that truth. when we are not identified with the human condition. Oh, yes, it's there. We don't pretend that it's not, but we recognize that it is not who and what we are. And therefore, we stand and speak from the I that I am, the Christ consciousness. Ernest Holmes writes in his beautiful epic poem, The Voice Celestial, prayer is a conscious union of the soul with God, a recognition that the whole is wholly present in the seeming part, around, above, below, within the heart. And in this work, this is of prayer the essence, that hour by hour awareness of the presence. And so we do our spiritual practice. Do you see? We do our spiritual practice to have that hour by hour awareness of the presence, not as something just out there, not as something just in here. It's not just transcendent or just immanent. Do you see? The highest God and the innermost God is one God. The transcendent reality and the immanent reality is the same reality. And it is the very source of life itself, and therefore the very source of our life. And so as we are developing our consciousness, we begin to develop, we grow into this place where we say, yes, actually, I know who I am. Not from an egoic sense, oh, I know who I am because I have this job, or I have this title, or I have this house, or I have this money, or I have this story, or I have this brokenness, or I have this addiction. I know who I am because I have touched the truth of my being. That's how we stand in that place. The I that I am. And we're developing that consciousness where we are not afraid to stand in that place. And we are not afraid to speak the word. To speak the word of power. Ernest Holmes writes this. No, actually, this isn't Ernest Holmes. Sorry, this is Emerson in his essay called Oversoul. Meantime, within man is the soul of the whole. Meantime, within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. And this deep power in which we exist, and whose beatitude is all accessible to us, is not only self-sufficing and imperfect in every hour, but the act of seeing and the thing seen, the seer and the spectacle, the subject and the object are one. We see the world by piece as the sun, the moon, the animal, the trees, but the whole of life, of which these are a part, is the soul. When we speak from the identity of the spiritual truth of who we are, do you see? We are not fooled by the human condition. We don't get caught in it. We don't succumb to fear and doubt because we know who we are. Now, there are people who teach the four kingdoms of consciousness, and they say, oh, there's very few people who walk around in the four kingdoms of consciousness, and they point to Jesus and Buddha and Gandhi, and we all think, yeah, right, we're ever going to be like that. So we might as well just give it up. Let's just be happy with kingdoms 2 and 3. And I tell you, I do not believe this is true. I believe every time that we in our meditation, every time that we in our spiritual mind treatment, every single time that we touch the truth of our being and we speak from that place, every time we move into Kingdom 4 consciousness. And the more that we do that, the more we grow it. And the more that we do that, the more that we see that that is the truth. And the more that we do that, the less caught we get in our story or somebody else's story or the condition. We can see it, we can have compassion for the condition, but we do not believe that it has to be that way. So I began early in the service to say, it's hard to talk about something that we want to experience. Andrew and Shannon's song gave us an experience of that. The meditation gives us an experience of that. And we're going to do a spiritual mind treatment in which I trust that you too will touch the experience of the identification with the one, so that we can be from that place of truth. It's always a bit of an interesting thing to have these talks spread out. You know, I set them up months in advance, and I think about them for a long time before they come along. And then here's this talk about the kingdom of consciousness and the I that I am and the Christ consciousness and how amazing and wonderful it is. And then we're confronted in the news. Shootings in the mall, shootings in the universities. Once again, we're confronted with the human condition. How will we respond? How will we react? Will we become angry, frightened? Will we lash out? Will we say there ought to be a law? Somebody ought to do something about this. It has to be made different. This is the perpetrators are terrible, or it's society, or blame, or shame, or it's challenging, isn't it? It's challenging when it's like that. It's challenging when it's right here in our own lives, our own individual experience, our families, our workplaces. And so I thought we would pray together. We'd do a spiritual mind treatment for the situation with these shootings and the situation of violence on our planet today. And perhaps we can collectively speak that word of authority. So I invite you to go within. Just to breathe again for a moment. Breathing in and out, effortlessly following it. Effortlessly following that breath to our center. And so we begin by remembering that this center is everywhere. And it's infinite in all directions. All of the universe, the vast physical universe, somehow is contained within this infinite reality that has its center everywhere. There's no place so small or so vast or so far or so deep that is outside of this reality. An infinite presence and power. And we recognize that it's impelled by love. It is the core of peace. It is the fountain of joy. It is the wellspring of beauty. It is the perfection of wholeness and the lavish abundance that we see everywhere in the universe. It is the source of all of life itself. And it rests in this perfection. And yet it leaps into creation. It leaps into the birds and the trees and the stars and the babies and all of life. This impulsion for this infinite reality to express itself, to bloom in the rose, to sing in the cardinal, to express as all beings, all life, everywhere, no exception. And so how good it is to remember that my life and your life and the life of all of these people who have been involved in all of these situations in the news, whether it is a shooting or a war. There too, that life is a part of the one life. And all of the lives that are affected, and all of us who see it, and all of us who hold it, we're all a part of that one life. And so let us stand in this Christ consciousness. Let us stand in the identity of the I that I am, and see from the spiritual reality that there too, in both victim and perpetrator, and in all around, there too, Spirit is present. And somehow we affirm, we declare, we demand that love makes itself known. We are not fooled by the outer circumstance. We do not become afraid. We do not buy into a story. We do not say this is how it has to be. We say no. The truth is love. The truth is peace. The truth is that the indwelling presence of life is being called forth from every person on this planet. And that we contribute to that by seeing it, by believing in it, by speaking about it. We release all fear. We let go of all doubt. We are not confused. We say this is not the truth of the human species, nor of the human condition. And so we stand with the saints and sages. We stand with the peace workers. We stand with the light workers. We stand with all beings everywhere. And we bring forth this new idea. We bring forth this identity, and we allow it to spread across the planet. And we accept it as so, because we see with the Christ consciousness, we see wholeness, and we call it forth. Come forth from the tomb of human ignorance. Come forth from the tomb of human bondage. Come forth from the tomb of human fear. And let us collectively be resurrected into the truth of our very being. That we may bring forth heaven on earth, that we may be the place where love shines and bring peace to the planet. And so it is here that we stand. It is here that we stake our claim, and it is from this place that we shall not be moved. And in the deepest gratitude that we have, that we can stand in this place and know this truth and speak this word, we can simply release it now with compassion and love, and a willingness to walk through whatever is required. We trust in this universal power and presence to be this truth in our lives and in the lives collectively. Resting in that truth, we have such great faith, deep trust, and a powerful peace. We let it be. We simply let it go. And so